A new tariff sounds simple. A product crosses a border. A percentage is added. Someone pays. But that is not how the real economy experiences trade policy. A tariff can show up as a higher car price or disappear inside a company's margin. It can change a contract, increase borrowing needs, or change where the next factory gets built. So, when Europe and America change the rules of trade, the important question is not only, what is the tariff? It is, who actually pays, when do they pay, and what changes next? You will often hear this described as the EU-US trade deal. But technically, it is not one simple free trade agreement with one universal tariff. The current architecture grew out of the EU-US Joint Statement of August 2025, followed by implementation on both sides, product exemptions, sector-specific treatment, and later U.S. trade action. A tariff rate tells you something important. It does not tell you the final cost. Imagine a European machine sold into the United States. The tariff is only one line in the journey. There is customs value, freight, insurance, brokerage, compliance, currency, the customer contract. And one crucial question: can the seller pass the extra cost on? That is why a 10% tariff does not mean a 10% hit to profit. The real economic bridge is tariff, plus pricing, plus FX, plus volume, plus mix, plus mitigation. BMW gives us a useful public example. In its 2026 half-year reporting, BMW said additional U.S. tariffs reduced its automotive EBIT margin by roughly 1.25 percentage points in both the second quarter and the first half. But BMW also separately reported an approximately €400 million second quarter EBIT headwind from currency movements. Those are not the same thing. The headline tariff cannot tell you the earnings story on its own. So, who pays? Sometimes the importer pays the duty at the border, but passes part of it to the customer. Sometimes the exporter cuts its price. Sometimes a supplier is pushed into a contract renegotiation. Sometimes the manufacturer absorbs the cost. And sometimes consumers pay through higher prices or fewer choices. The tariff is collected at the border. The economics are negotiated across the entire value chain. Then comes the bigger decision. Where should the product actually be made? Trade rules care about origin, not simply the logo on the product or the address on the invoice. That turns the bill of materials into strategy. But moving production is expensive. Tooling takes time. Suppliers need qualification. New capacity can become stranded if policy changes again. The hard decision is knowing which response is reversible and which one commits capital for years. There's another part of this story that rarely makes the headline: timing. A duty can affect cash when the goods enter the country, but the company may not recover that cost until the next pricing round, the next contract reset, or ever. Now, the trade shock is no longer only a margin problem. It becomes a working capital problem. In trade policy, timing can be as important as the rate. This is why the effects spread much further than exporters. Automotive, industrials, private equity, banks, insurers, and suppliers far beyond Europe and America. If transatlantic production becomes more expensive or more local, suppliers in other manufacturing hubs can gain or lose orders. A bilateral trade rule can therefore reorganize a global supply chain. The useful question is not, how do we avoid every tariff? It is, which response preserves the most value with the least irreversible cost? That can mean pricing, contract clauses, a second supplier, inventory changes, financing, risk transfer, or selective localization. Protect cash now. Protect margin next, then decide whether the footprint itself needs to change. Trade policy is usually reported as diplomacy, tariffs, and political negotiation. But for a company, the real story travels much further. From the border to the invoice. From the invoice to the margin. From the margin to working capital. From working capital to financing. And from financing to the next supplier, warehouse, or factory. That is why the most important number in a trade agreement may not be the headline tariff. It may be the capital decision that follows it. When the rules of trade change, do not stop at the border. Follow the money. This is Beyond the Spin, the systems behind the headline. If this helped you see the trade story differently, subscribe to Lessons Untold. We do not just follow the headline. We look at the system underneath it.